Gary, earlier you were saying small business CEOs' economic concerns are no different from big-time CEOs. What's your concern as it relates to interest rates, and how are you preparing Goldman Sachs right now?
Steph, look, we have the natural concerns that everyone else has in the world. We've been in a 32-year bull market in bonds in the United States. Most of the major central banks around the world are in some type of zero interest rate policy or quantitative easing. Obviously, this needs to come to an end at some point. I'm not predicting that it comes to an end anytime soon, but if you look at the normal progression of markets, there is really only one way that interest rates can go over some period of time, which is ultimately higher. I am concerned that the general public doesn't quite understand the pricing of bonds and interest rates and the inverse correlation between the two.
Has your views changed at all in the last week as it relates to the U.S. economy? You were in Asia last week. Here you are in Cleveland today. What are you thinking?
My views haven't changed. You know, when you look at interest rates and you look at fundamental monetary policy, you have to take a much broader, more macro view. So it's hard to change your views very quickly. You know, I was in Asia last week, as you said. I think Asia continues to perform well. I was in Indonesia. I was in Singapore. I was in Hong Kong. All things in Asia seem to be very, very well. But that said, you know, you've still got an interesting situation in Japan. You've got an interesting situation in Europe. And you've got an interesting situation in the United States. And ultimately, all of these situations are going to get reflected in some type of monetary policy or fiscal policy.
Gary, this 10,000 small business project, obviously, it's an effort to help the U.S. economy, to help U.S. businesses. But is it at all a hedging strategy at a time when so many people are concerned about investment banking revenues, what they're going to look like going forward? Is this a way to hedge yourself and diversify into other businesses?
Well, Stephanie, this is not a hedging strategy. The best thing we can do for our business and the best thing we can do for the U.S. economy is to help it grow. Growth of the economy is the fundamental driver of our business and basically the well-being of the country. And investing in these small businesses is our contribution to helping the U.S. economy grow.
Is it a branding opportunity for you? When I think about the last 4 years and the difficult times bank presidents have had from a reputation standpoint across the United States, here you are in Cleveland, Ohio, a town where maybe they haven't been so positive on the investment banking world. How is it for you to sit there in a city that doesn't necessarily feel great about banks?
It's always great to be home. I grew up in Cleveland, so I'm excited to be here. We're excited to have 36 great scholars graduating from our first class. We had a second class that started their academic program on Saturday. We're going to continue to invest in Cleveland. We're going to continue to invest in the other 9 cities, and we're continuously looking for more cities where we think we can have an impact.
Gary, you think you're going to give any of these program alumni jobs at Goldman one day?
I hope not. I hope that all of these small business people are very successful, and I hope they become big clients of Goldman Sachs someday when they're no longer small businesses and they're large businesses.